Hey everyone, this is Happy Bee. So, today I am doing a response to Dr. Sharon's 50 Questions for Feminists to try and, respond and give a more moderate view of what some of us feminists are. Now, this is a disclaimer, this is only my response back, and I do not speak for all feminists in general or even all female kind, only for me. Now let's begin.
We all know how calm, reserved, and silently contemplative they all are. So here are 50 questions for feminists from a man.
Right.
Most of these are unfair generalizations, but feminists make unfair generalizations all the time, so I don't care.
Well, first, let's pause it there and say thank you for at least acknowledging, on both ends, yes, unfair generalizations. Now let us continue.
Why is it that whenever you make a claim, you never provide any sources or back it up with empirical evidence?
A lot of times because that is a lot of work to go back and find the sources. But when possible, I know at least I try to.
If you are really fighting for equality, why do you actively protest and disrupt men's issues conferences?
Because people are going to disrupt more than anything else. Quality's great, and you know what? Have your men issues conferences. But people are going to still step in because, let's face it, negative attention, a lot more publicity than positive attention.
Why do you complain about trivial things like manspreading and scientists wearing shirts you don't like when women in Afghanistan can't even show their faces in public and girls in Somalia get their clitorides cut off? It just seems like those sorts of things should be higher up on your priority list.
And you know what? Yes, those things are terrible. But, at least in my opinion, I'm in America. I can't do jack about that country and their things. But, hey, we can complain about manspreading and the scientists wearing shirts and stuff like that. And you know what? Maybe that'll change. We can complain all we want to the Afghanistans. We can complain all we want to the Somalians. Pretty sure they don't care.
Why do you complain about men spreading their legs too far apart on public transportation, but not about the women who take up multiple seats with their purses and shopping bags? Why don't you...
Because both are very rude, but honestly, both are just rude. And you're right, we should complain about them both. But complaining takes a lot of work.
don't have any respect for the presumption of innocence at all.
Because in a hypersexualized culture, innocence isn't valued as much as sexualization. Although, personally, either way, I think you want to be innocent looking, you want to be innocent, great. You want to be sexual, great. Do you.
Why do you think that your feelings should take precedent over facts?
Because feelings. No, there's actually no good answer for that one. Because feelings just get feelings. And, you know, everyone has those few people that just don't listen to facts. So, yeah.
If you're so against body shaming, why do you call men's rights activists neckbeards?
I want to ask, where did you hear this phrase? Because I've never heard anyone calling anyone a neckbeard before. But, you know, I don't doubt that it happens, so. Yeah. No understanding of why that happens, but I do ask, where has you heard this phrase? Because I have not.
You do realize that healthy at any size is complete nonsense, right? Literally any doctor will tell you that being overweight is bad for you. Obesity-related diseases are responsible for a full quarter of all American deaths. It's not just a personal problem either. The obesity epidemic contributes to the rising cost of health insurance, and this restricts access to healthcare for everybody else. So if you're fat, you are, in a sense, killing other people. That might be a strong way to put it, but it's kind of true, and you can't really deny it.
Now, okay, the healthy at any size thing is supposed to relate to people that have an actual disorder of something. Normally, what I would know of it is thyroids, I guess, where they cannot, no matter how much they try, lose weight or gain weight, or they really are just big boned. If you are obese, then yes, that is not healthy. If you are anorexic, that is not healthy. But if you have an actual medical issue, that's where the whole beautiful any size comes into play. Shouldn't shame people for what they can't change.
Why do you complain about being expected to shave your legs when I have to put a bladed instrument up to my throat and shave my neck every day and literally run the risk of killing myself just to avoid having women like you call me a neckbeard?
Because shaving sucks. I mean, come on. Let's face it. You want to complain about having to shave? We want to be able to complain about having to shave. Nobody likes having to shave unless it's more comfortable. Because let's face it, when it's hot, sometimes it just helps not having as much hair. But in general, everyone just wants to complain. That's why.
Why do you condemn men for slut-shaming when it's being done predominantly by women?
Because neither one is right, and women like to ignore when other women do those things. Most of us are aware that it's mostly us slut-shaming ourselves, and that is a problem that needs to be addressed at some point in time. But men also do it. And so neither one is right.
Why is it wrong to call a woman a slut, but totally acceptable to call a man a fuckboy?
Because a slut and a fuckboy are two totally different things. As well as, I don't know with you guys, but me and my friends, hey, you're a fuckboy, you're a fuckgirl. You can be a fuck any gender, because fuckboy, a guy that literally is the one that believes in the friend zone, because he only approaches girls wanting to get in their pants. That's a fuckboy. If a girl does that with a guy, that's a fuck girl. Slut seems outdated and is used mostly derogatory. Of course, yes, fuckboy or fuckgirl is still not a nice thing to say, but hey, being manipulated like that is not a nice thing to do.
What's it like not having a sense of humor? I mean a real sense of humor. Not that sad, shriveled husk that evaporates whenever somebody says something you disagree with.
I don't know. You'll have to tell me.
Why do you think that you're the only ones who are ever offended by anything?
Because people like to look at themselves more often than other people. Of course, everyone's offended by everything. That's how the world works.
Why are your feelings so much more important than the feelings of everybody else? And that the whole world should stop doing what they're doing to cater to your sensibilities?
Because they're my feelings, of course. In all honesty, who doesn't care more about their feelings than others? Okay, we all care about other people's feelings too, but everyone has a little bit of selfishness in them, and everyone always falls back on their own. Let's face that.
Why are you always seeking validation?
Because who doesn't like being validated? It's like a Facebook thumbs up. Hey, you're right, you're cool. Everyone likes that.
Why is it that whenever somebody gives you a compliment, you deliberately misinterpret it as an insult?
Because it depends on the compliment and the person's life experiences. Some people, I have some friends that think the word cute is an insult. I think cute is great. I love being called cute. But, hey, each their own. Each person has their own preferences, and that should be respected.
Why is that whenever a man says or does something you don't like, you instantly assume he did it because you're a woman?
Because that's easier than anything else. See, if you have something against the gender, then it's not about us or me. It's about you. It's a defense mechanism, I assume.
Why is everything a gendered issue with you? Do you honestly believe that men don't also get interrupted or told not to use profanity just like you do?
Because we're always told to be ladylike, and that is a gender thing, because I've never heard a man be told to be ladylike. Although I will say I have heard a man say to man up. But that still is a gender thing. Is everything a gender thing? No, but some things really could be interpreted as a gender thing. And as for the profanity thing, let's face it, we all like to use the word fuck.
Why do you complain about men not showing their emotions, but then the minute they do, you revel in their male tears?
Because I believe from what I understand, male tears are more like anger, offensiveness, like, oh no, you got offended. It's not like, hey, I love you, I care about you. Different type of emotions. Of course, you know what, just like we're free to express our emotions, you should be free to express yours. But, yeah.
Why do you assume that everything a man does has some kind of sexual motivation behind it? Doesn't that seem like a sexist thing to assume?
Okay, the reason for that is mostly life experiences within most females. Right now, culturally, it is very hypersexualized. And even to most points, it's, let's go on a date, let's hang out together. Okay, yeah. I believe we're all familiar with the saying, Netflix and chill. So at this point, when a woman believes that, it's because culture has pre-programmed it for us to believe that. Is it sexist? Is it wrong? Yeah, because every person's different, but it's a defense mechanism based upon life experiences that most females have had nowadays.
Did you know that studies have found that 48% of men who cheat don't do it for sex, but do it because they feel emotionally dissatisfied in their marriages? That only 12% found their mistresses more attractive than their wives, and that only 8% do it because of sexual dissatisfaction?
Does it really matter why you cheat? Still cheating.
If you're such a strong, independent woman, why are you always pretending to be a victim?
Because who's gonna help someone that they think doesn't need any help? No one. They're gonna be like, oh yeah, they're fine on their own. Move along. A lot more people help a victim. It's beneficial.
How do you expect anybody to believe that you're a strong, independent woman when you sequester yourself in safe spaces to avoid having your opinions challenged, and demand everybody else curtail their speech so you won't be triggered?
Before I say anything more on this question, fuck safe spaces. I can't even defend them. So that's all I even have to say on this question, because I don't even know how people expect to be thought of as strong and independent. Anything, man or woman, if you need to hide in a safe space. Sorry guys, fuck safe space.
Why do you keep complaining about being afraid to walk to your car at night when men are statistically twice as likely to be victims of crimes by strangers, and the vast majority of rapes are committed by people familiar to the victim?
Because, okay, nighttime is dark. You ever been completely in the dark, or even, like, surrounded in a place you can't really see? That's scary, because I can't see around me. I don't know if there's a man, a woman, a freaking raccoon around me. That is scary, okay? So, yeah, gonna be afraid of that. And, yeah, it sucks that men are also statistically twice as likely to be victims, because, you know what? That shouldn't be happening. But none of it should be happening. You know what? You guys should be just as afraid as us. How about that? And yeah, a lot of the rapes are committed by people familiar to the victim. But you know what? We've been programmed. Dark. Scary. Nobody likes that.
Statistically, the vast majority of child murders are committed by women. So why is teach men not to rape a valid argument, but teach women not to kill kids isn't?
Because nobody should be killing kids, and nobody should be raping. The point that this is still an argument is saddening, actually. Everyone should be taught both. How about we teach humans not to rape and kill? Sound good? Yeah.
Why do you always have unnatural hair colors? Is it because your millennial narcissism makes you crave attention?
One, most people like attention anyways. So, is it really narcissism? I mean, come on dude, you're on YouTube too. Think about it. And as for why always having unnatural hair colors, it looks cool. Let's face it, it's the style right now. Especially with artsy people. So, yeah. It looks nice, we like it. And let's face it, everybody likes being paid attention to. It's just who's paying attention that matters.
Why isn't it whenever the vast majority of people disagree with you, instead of reevaluating your position, you hold that up as proof of why we need feminism? Is it because your millennial narcissism won't allow you to admit when you're wrong?
I get a feeling you don't like millennials very much, dude. And as for why, because, let's face it, most people that have an opinion, that's their opinion. No matter what you say or do, it won't change. Some people, yeah, maybe. But most people, no matter where your opinion is, it's not going to change just because of one person. And again, what is it with you and millennials? What did we do to you? Gosh.
Instead of complaining that there aren't enough realistic depictions of women in movies and video games, why don't you just make your own damn movies and video games? I mean, there are people shooting entire movies on iPhones now and getting them distributed, so what's your excuse? Is it because your millennial narcissism makes you feel entitled to demand that everybody else change the way they do things to cater to your own personal tastes?
Okay. Actually, there is a real thing here, and I have a little bit of background in this, being my background currently is writing for entertainment. And so, currently, the entertainment industry of mainstream is male-dominated, especially in movies and video games. So even when we do make our own movies and video games, it is very hard to get it out there. Thankfully, currently, the independent film and video game industry are starting to help expand on that, especially with now, as you mentioned, iPhones, mobile gaming. But it's still a work in process, as there is still a bit of a barrier, as it is still a male-dominated industry, making even us that study, train, and are qualified to work in it have a harder time getting into it. So, yeah, that's why they complain about it. Because even when we try, it's not impossible, but it's very difficult as it is right now. It is making strides to be better, but it is taking some time. And still, dude, what is it with you against millennials? Seriously?
Why isn't all of your feelings always somebody else's fault? Is it because your millennial narcissism won't let you ever be at fault?
That's just because people like to blame other people. That's not a millennial thing. That's everyone. It takes a while and maturity for people to ever receive accountability for their own actions. So, yeah.
Why do you always assume that whenever a man interrupts you, it's because you're a woman? Maybe he's interrupting you just because he's an asshole and he interrupts everybody. Or maybe he's interrupting you because he already knows that you don't know what you're talking about. Do you really expect people to believe that you've never been interrupted by a woman before?
Of course not. We interrupt people all the time. Well, women. But as for why the man does it really depends on how he does it, I think. Most of the time, you're right. It's because he's an asshole. But other times, it's because, well, he's got that condescending tone. And you all know it, man or woman, because women do it too, men do it, where it's like, I'm better than you. I know more than you. Yeah, I might just be doing this because I'm an asshole, but it's okay, because you're just a poor little woman that don't know anything. And believe it or not, some men actually do that. So when they do something like that, it's very logical to assume that he interrupted you because he thought you were a woman. It's also, when those certain factors are not in play, very logical to think, yeah, he's probably just an asshole.
Why do you think that violence against men is so funny when violence against women is so abhorrent?
Because violence in general is funny. I mean, let's face it, someone falls or slips, we all laugh. And then we're like, oh, are you okay? But come on, slipping on a banana peel wouldn't have been such a known comedy gag if it wasn't funny. Now, when it's actual violence and someone actually get hurt, that's not funny. Man or woman. It just sucks.
If women are just as strong as men, why are there so few women working as construction workers, coal miners, loggers, sewer line maintenance workers, or doing any of the other dirty, dangerous jobs that men do to make your first world lives comfortable? You can't blame it on hiring discrimination when women make up about half of the workforce, yet only 7% of workplace fatalities.
Now, this is because of a lot of reasons. One, personal preference. Let's face it. Most people, men or women, aren't lazy. If you don't have to do something in manual labor, most of us don't. Of course, there are exceptions. I know some wonderful friends who work in mechanics and construction, and they love their jobs. They would not change it for the world. On my hand, you could not pay me enough to work manual labor. Now, for the bigger question, are women just as strong as men? Well, a woman can work out and become just as strong as men. And on a very normal level, let's say carrying groceries, moving, stuff that don't require constant manual work, a woman can still do it just as much as a man. But for consistent ones, well, it takes a lot more work and effort. Just genetically, how we're built, we're not meant to contain as much muscle mass as men are. And so men can more easily do consistently manual labor work than women can. It's not that we can't. We just have to try harder. And not a lot of us really want to do that.
If women are just as strong as men, why do you keep demanding fire departments in the military to lower their standards for women?
Because, just as I stated with the earlier question, it's a lot harder for us women to build the same amount of muscle mass and be just as strong. We can do it, but it's harder. Meaning, if they want us to work in there quicker and at the same time rate, they need lower standards to match our genetic DNA. Now, if they want us to be the same, they just need to, increase boot camp for us and help give us more time. Because, yes, we can be just as strong. We can do the same things. It takes more effort, though. It takes more time. And with military and fire departments, the big thing isn't time. It's getting people out there, getting them to be able to work.
If we live in a rape culture, which you insist celebrates and protects rapists, why is it that the mere accusation of rape is enough to ruin a man's life?
Because, well, let's face it, no one wants to hang out with a rapist, even if it's just an accusation. But, at the other hand, nobody wants to get raped. Neither one is very good. And both lives do end up ruined in the long run. Because after all, think about it. False rape accusation, that shit comes out. Wow. Yo, bitch.
Did you know that RAIN, the largest anti-sexual assault organization in the USA, says rape culture doesn't exist, and that the very notion of a rape culture is actually detrimental to the prevention of rape? What?
No, I actually did not know that fact, so thank you for giving me that fact. I will look more into it. But, as for the existence of rape culture, there are things that do exist. And, yeah, it does exist because it's a hypersexualized culture. Sex in general is hyped. It's a sex culture in general, not just rape. Now, if it's detrimental to say that there's a rape culture, as I said, I did not know that fact. I'll have to look it up, and thus cannot comment on it.
Why do you uncritically believe it when a woman claims to have been raped, and then proceed to bully the alleged rapist to the point where he fears for his own safety, even when the woman provides no evidence for her rape accusation at all?
Because people like to jump on bandwagons, as a group and as in general. People care about really weird things. Like, let's face it. Currently, a lot of people care more about, that gorilla that got shot. Or, I think it was a gorilla. It was a gorilla or a monkey. Anyways, that got shot at the zoo. More than, the fact that Hades got, put underwater practically about a month ago now. Yeah. It's really weird what we decide to care about, isn't it?
How do you expect people to take rape claims seriously when you've expanded the definition of rape so broadly that a rape claim can mean anything from somebody holding you down and forcibly sticking his penis in you to simply looking at you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable?
Well, personally, I agree. I mean, yeah, they totally should not be doing that. That's why we have other words such as sexual harassment, sexual assault, and then rape. But, people sometimes don't know how to use English. Hell, sometimes even I don't English very well. As that sentence states, because that is not a good English sentence. But, yeah. Anyways, all of that still sucks, Nobody should forcibly hold down someone. Nobody should forcibly be sticking anything into anything. And if you're being a creeper, just stop being a creeper. Come on, dudes. Come on, chicks. Stop being creepy.
Have you ever hurt yourself performing the mental gymnastics necessary to rationalize how it's not sexist to make patently sexist statements about men?
No, but that question hurt my mind. In that, I don't even understand where it comes from, but I do. I'm assuming this question is targeted towards the radicals that make sexist statements about men for no reason. But yeah, that question alone required the mental gymnastics for me to analyze what it was talking about. So, yeah, that would be what hurts myself. Understanding these questions sometimes.
Why do you insist on portraying domestic violence as a completely one-sided issue when the Centers for Disease Control has found that women are the perpetrators in more than 70% of non-reciprocated domestic violence cases, and the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services has found that mothers are twice as likely than fathers to abuse children?
Probably because usually when it is the female domestically abusing the male, there is less permanent and or bad damage than when a man is to do it to a woman. Also because, well, statistically, yes, men are more likely to have it happen, but they are also less likely to report. So, since they don't really report and talk about it as much, it's harder to figure out how to help them than women who are more likely to raise the red flag. That's a societal issue on both ends. As well as, come on, don't abuse children. Don't abuse your lovers. Love each other. God damn it.
If pornography normalizes rape, it makes men more likely to rape women. Why is it that literally every credible study ever conducted on this subject has found the exact opposite to be the case?
Because it depends on what type of pornography, I would say. See, porn does a very interesting thing when it comes to sex. It causes a lot of misconstructions unless you understand that this is porn and not the norm. Some people don't, and that causes problems. Now, the porn that would normalize rape would be rape porn, which, see, on a lot of ends, this goes on women and men because studies have also shown that rape fantasies are a big one when it comes into looking into porn. 50 Shades of Grey. Yes, woman, 50 Shades of Grey. And yes, men as well. Just in general, it normalizes it because it's out there and it's shockingly and grossly one of the highest rate fantasies and such type of porn. That would normalize rape because thinking about it over and over and over again, impulsivity, one time you have one too many drinks, now you're acting out your porn and your fantasies. That's just not okay.
If you want there to be more women working in STEM fields, why did you decide to major in gender studies instead?
Because gender studies is easier than STEM fields, and if they don't want, just because they want more women in the industry doesn't mean they want to be the one in the industry. Ever hear the thing? It's a lot easier to sit back and let someone else do the work than do it yourself.
Why is it that when it comes to women who don't self-identify as feminists, you don't understand that no means no?
Because feminism has gotten a really bad connotation due to a lot of the radicals that I feel a lot of these questions are also anchored to. Which is why I'm glad that I'm doing this response video so you can get a feminist view that is not a radical. But as for why they don't understand why no means no with that, because everyone likes to go, ha ha, I told you so, and they're just being stupid. bitchy. Pretty much what.
Why do you dismiss all women who criticize the modern feminist movement as having internalized misogyny?
Because feminism goes a lot of different ways, and the thing is, you shouldn't be afraid to be what you are because of the radicals. Yes, there is a equality movement, which is great, and I would consider myself an equalist. I also consider myself a feminist. Do I think I have internalized misogyny? No. But would I support a lot of the radical parts of feminism? No. I consider them exactly that, radical. And so I think a lot of feminists that have other women who are against the feminists, they don't realize they might be against the radical part and the bad crud being a feminist gets, and not really what feminism was meant and does actually stand for, which is literally just being for females, being part of wanting equality for females. And yes, a real feminism blends into equality because it's for females and men. It's just the female side.
How do you not see the inherent irony in dismissing female critics of the feminist movement as having internalized misogyny? You're basically saying women are so stupid and weak-willed that if they don't agree with me, then they must be brainwashed by the patriarchy because women are incapable of forming their own opinions or coming to their own conclusions without somebody telling them what to think.
Because anyone can have internalized misogyny, anyone can have internal hate, anyone can have internalized guilt. Should they be calling them that because they don't agree with the feminism movement? No. But at the same time, it depends on why they say they don't. Do they say they don't because they're afraid of this, crud that they're gonna get because of the radicals? Or do they say they don't because they're actually against what feminists stand or meant to stand for, and not just the radicals? There's a lot that goes into play there. So to say that they don't have internalized misogyny, or to say that they do, really is a generalized statement, which they really should not be doing, as it is case by case. But it is very likely and plausible.
You always complain about feminism being seen as a dirty word. Have you ever actually taken the time to step back and see why that is?
Radicals. And why they complain? Because it's something complain-worthy. I dislike the fact that it's considered a bad or dirty word, because it's what it actually was made for and stands for isn't. It's more equality than what the radicals have made it seem like. So, have I taken a step back to see why that is? Yeah, and that's the answer. Radicals.
Why is it that when a man doesn't like you, you arrogantly assume it's because he's intimidated by your intelligence? Couldn't it be because he doesn't want to be around somebody who prejudges and vilifies him as a potential rapist, considers him unworthy of consideration because he has privilege, or that he's put off by your special snowflake syndrome and lack of self-awareness, or that some guys just plain don't like stupid girls?
Do you realize that you insult them while questioning them, which kind of lowers the value of this question a little bit. But it depends on why the guy does not like, at least in my opinion, why the guy does not like me. Is it because I tried to have an intellectual debate with them and they were one-sided and they couldn't have an actual debate? Or is it because there was something wrong with the relationship? Was it that I was always having to explain what the big words mean? Or that, maybe sometimes I wasn't finding him intellectually stimulating? There's a lot of reasons why I would see that a man did not like me because they were something mentally, or yes, intimidated by my intelligence. Do I assume that automatically? No. But has there been cases where I have come to that conclusion? Yes. as well as, since you mentioned it in your own question, I will question it back to you. Have you ever think that maybe girls don't want to be around people who prejudge them, thinking that they think that they're all special snowflakes, or that they think they have extra privileges? Or, maybe we don't like stupid guys. Just, just saying.
You stigmatize all men as potential wife beaters and rapists. You try to get men banned from certain places on campuses. You protest men's issues conferences. You dismiss men as misogynists for even talking about their own problems. And you dismiss men's opinions on gender issues out of hand. So where do you get off asserting that anti-feminist men are just afraid of having their privilege taken away?
Because negative stuff gets more than positive stuff. As for getting their privilege taken away, I mean, there's some things that, no offense, you guys shouldn't have had to begin with. I don't know exactly what situations you are referring to at this moment for this question, but for certain places on campuses, I can think of a few that men should not be in. Girls' dormitories during certain hours or times, changing rooms, bathrooms, stuff like that. Shouldn't they not be there, trying to change? Love you, babe. See you when I'm not naked. Or, you know what? Even if I want you to see me when I'm naked, love you, babe. See you when I'm ready for you to see me naked. There are certain places. But in retrospect, at the same time, women shouldn't be in, men's lockers, men's bathrooms. It goes both ways, but there are places that should be gender specific, at least at certain times of the day, if nothing else. Protesting men issues? Well, radicals, and yeah, negative press gets more than positive press. This is why the radicals are more well known. Now, why are they dismissed misogynists for talking about their own problems and opinions on gender issues? Depends on how they're doing it. Whether or not they should be or get dismissed or not, at least in my opinion. Are you mentioning your problems to devalidate mine? Or are you mentioning them as an agreement that there's something wrong and that something needs to be changed? Are you putting them out there because this is an actual issue? Or are you putting them out there because you're complaining? Of course, yes, we all love to complain, but no one takes complaining seriously too much. It's just complaining. It's kind of like, if I'm at, let's say, one female issue that I've noticed, and this is living in a college dormitory. Yes, me and my friend walk down the street, and we'll get honks at, random guys will honk their horns at us, and, oh yeah, totally should take that as a compliment, right? And what am I supposed to expect from that? Which, by the way, is another thing. Guys that catcall, what do you expect? Do you expect me to be like, oh, he honked at me, thank you, let me chase after your car or something? What? See, that's an issue. Now, now that I've mentioned that, if you were to just throw in, well, women are always insulting to men and men body standards, because, those are things too, you guys shouldn't have to be upheld to unrealistic standards if we shouldn't be. Or, girls can get kind of vocal and they can catcall guys too. I haven't seen it, but I'm sure I've heard it's happened. So that would be an issue that would be unacceptable as well. But if you chose that moment to mention it, to try and devalidate what I mentioned, then yeah, that's not okay. It's like time, placing, and how you say it. And so, why we put that you're afraid of having a privilege taken away? Well, because depending on how you present it, a lot of times just the easiest way to be like, hey, you're devalidating us for no reason. And sometimes it is no reason. Sometimes, you know what? They're radicals and they need it.
Where do you get off saying that sexism towards men doesn't exist because it isn't systemic and institutionalized when, A, I can point to numerous examples of systemic and institutionalized sexism against men, a lot of which is actually the direct result of feminism, and B, who says gender-based prejudice and discrimination have to be systemic and institutionalized for it to count as sexism? It seems to me that this is just something you made up to give yourself a free pass for your own bigotry.
Wow. Really? Well, actually, no. Both of them do exist. There is sexism towards men and there is sexism towards women. It is just, what do you experience? Women experience it with women, men experience it with men. It's a lot easier to relate to something you experience yourself versus what you don't.
Why is it bad when men are sexist, but empowering when women are sexist?
Are you really asking if either one is okay? Like, really? Really? Neither one's okay. Neither one's empowering. And both are bad. Moving on.
You are the ones who have all of the institutional advantages when it comes to child custody, selective service, availability of healthcare, social safety nets, and sentencing for crimes. Plus, when you're the victims of domestic abuse, it's actually taken seriously and people don't laugh at you. Nor is it automatically assumed that you did something to deserve it, nor are you told to woman up when you complain about it. Not only that, but if you rape a man or even an underage boy and get pregnant from it, you have the power to sue them for child support. So with all that in mind, why are you so afraid of recognizing your privilege?
Because no matter how unfair or skewed the system is in one way, it doesn't counteract how it's skewed in other ways. Yeah, a lot of times with child custody and all the social health care, all of that, yeah, you know what, it should be a fair thing. Then again, I mean, child custodies, we are usually the ones that had to suffer and carry it in our wombs and bodies, got our bodies effed up for it, had to deal with the stigma of being pregos. A lot of problems there. Domestic abuse, most of the time it's because, well, we're taken more seriously because it's worse for us. Something permanently or horrible has happened, and we actually report it. Guys don't report because of the stigma, as well as it's usually not as bad. And if it is, and you know what, people are more than welcome to point out cases where it has been, and I would say, you know, I hope they got the help they needed, and that really sucks, and it's sad. And yes, I realize for a lot of terrible things, I'm just using the word "it sucks" to describe it, but that's because this video is already long enough, and I cannot just go into how much shittiness this all is. So why are they afraid to recognize our privilege? Because, you know what? Yeah, there's a privilege there, but there's also reasonings why. And yes, there are some privileges there that need to be leveled out, but there's also things that need to be fixed that we don't have the privilege. Privilege does not cancel out problems. Problems does not cancel out privilege. Both exist, no matter what.
So that's 50 questions for feminists. If you have any questions of your own,
And so that's the end of your 50 questions for feminists, and this will be the end of my response. I would like to thank you all for sticking through this. I know this is a very long video, but hopefully it helps, and you all get to see a view from someone who I like to believe is a little bit more in the middle. Bye! Happy Bee out. Mwah.